Hello, welcome to a little video lecture that I prepared for you to introduce you to our second assignment, what I like to call the Profile Podcast. The title of this chapter is about writing to inform, just the facts, ma'am. And so we're writing an informative essay, but we're writing a particular type of informative essay known as a profile. So we'll talk about that here in a second. And then the podcast part is that we're going to work on this essay pretty much as a written document all the way up until the rough draft stage, just like we did with the first essay assignment for the most part. And then we're going to, between the rough draft and the final draft, convert it into a quote unquote podcast. We're not actually going to put this online, so it's not really a podcast. But we're going to create an audio file, so an MP3 of your essay. So along the way, just like with the first essay assignment, we talked about images as text and sharing images and talking about how they tell a story. With this essay, we're going to be thinking about audio as text. And so I'm going to start you guys early on in the process, gathering audio artifacts and sharing them with each other and talking about how is this piece of audio an example of a text. So what is it saying? So we're going to use a simple audio editing program called Audacity to record you reading your essay and to add in some of these audio artifacts. We're going to try to work on maybe having an intro that maybe has a bit of music to it and an outro as well. And so for the most part, we're focusing on the written composition of this document, but the final version of it, at least, everything's a work in progress, but the version that I'm grading will be, you'll submit both a written document, an essay, kind of a script for this, as well as the audio file as the podcast. So a bit of an intimidating assignment. I think it's worth a little more than the than the last assignment, which I think is not quite as challenging technically. But we also have a bit of time to work on it, so try to stay with me, stay with the process, and I think you'll find this to be an enjoyable experience. So I'll even try to share some sample assignments from you from previous semesters. I can't share the actual file, but I can play them for you and record that, and then as examples of what you could do with this assignment. Okay, so let me go through a few slides here and then go through the assignment sheet and also give you a quick peek at Audacity, and then we'll go on from there. I'll set up the peer response groups and get you guys going on topic workshop. So, okay, so moving along here. Okay, the basics of a profile. It can be about a person, a place, or a thing. So elaborating on that a little bit more in terms of thing, an establishment, an activity, maybe a person with an interesting profession or an interesting hobby or something. So, a profile is based on the writer's firsthand knowledge gained through firsthand research. So you're not going to be going to the library to research this topic. You're going to engage in what we call field research, which is a way of gathering evidence, information, data firsthand. And we're going to compile that to create kind of a dominant impression here. So a little ahead of myself, but again, firsthand knowledge, field research, ethnographic research. We're going to be conducting observations and writing up our observations. What are we seeing? Interviewing people. That'll give you some audio. Gathering artifacts. And for this assignment, I think of audio as artifacts. So we're going to start that process pretty quickly and gathering sound effects and talking about how we could use this in an audio version of your essay. So, and then down at the bottom, I say a profile focuses on the present. It has very little to do with memories. So this is one way to kind of distinguish it from the first assignment. Is this is supposed to be something that you don't really know much about at this point. So you're going out and finding out about something. And the first assignment, multimodal memory, has everything to do with memories. And so we need to try to make a clean break from that and not deal so much with memories, but instead information that we gather through field research and fresh information. So, okay. In writing this profile essay, keep in mind that it will eventually become an audio essay. So think orally as you're putting this together. We're going to record the essay and add in these audio effects or artifacts. We're going to export the audio in a shareable file format, typically MP3, but we can also use WAV. Your final draft will include both a written draft, think of it maybe as a script, and an audio version of the essay. So as I mentioned, we use images as text in the last assignment. This time we're thinking about audio as text. In writing a profile essay, we're trying to create a dominant impression. A dominant impression is something we're trying to convey to the reader. We're trying to encourage them to think about this thing in a particular way. So in that sense, it's kind of an argument. So it's your unique slant or angle on the topic. It's your unique perspective. It's your interpretation and analysis of the topic. So in that sense, it's an argument. Okay. So a lot of times with this assignment, I've noticed students have a hard time kind of conceptualizing this. And one way of thinking of it is in terms of a larger project. So, and in fact, occasionally a student will introduce their podcast as episode 7 of the such and such podcast or something. So kind of shows that they're thinking larger than just beyond one episode. But I'm suggesting that we can imagine that we as a class are creating a podcast about Westchester, and we could call it something like Westchester Weekly, and that each of the podcast or audio essays that you're creating, we could then upload and call a podcast or a segment of a podcast. Okay, so I think that's about it. Let me look and see if there's more, and then we're going to review the assignment sheet. Oh, okay. So some tools that we'll be using, Audacity. Audacity is a free and simple audio editing program. It's available for Macs, it's available for PCs, and it's free. So that's kind of one of the reasons I'm focusing on it. There are other editing programs out there that you can use. People on Macs, you might want to be using GarageBand, but since that's not available for a PC and it's not free, I'm not going to be focusing on that in terms of the audio essay portion of this assignment. So I also list your phone here because it's something you carry around with you all the time. And so maybe as you're thinking about this place or space or something, you hear some sounds and you just start recording a voice memo. Just hit record and you get that, and so you've captured a bit of audio as an artifact. Or you could really leave yourself a voice memo, or you could read or interview someone using your phone. Again, take that voice memo and you can send it, share it with yourself, send it through an email, and then you'll have it on your laptop, and then we can manipulate it using Audacity. So we're going to be using some audio conversion software because the audio that comes off your phone is typically an M4A audio, and we want to be able to get it to be an MP3 or a WAV file in order to use it in Audacity. So your laptop, pretty much, that's what you're going to be using, I think, for the final editing stage. Can't really do a whole lot on your phone, I think, at that stage. And Audacity is available in all the labs here on campus. So, okay, so moving on. So here's the assignment sheet. To write a profile an informative and entertaining report based on a writer's firsthand observations and interviews. And we're also going to include gathering artifacts. Writer's motive is to understand unusual person, place, establishment, activity, or thing, or to discover something unexpected about a familiar person or place. Again, as we said, a profile focuses on the present, has little to do with memories. Okay, so here's the basic task. Write an essay about an intriguing person, place, establishment, activity, or thing, whether on campus or Westchester, and then turn it into a podcast by recording it. So we're going to do that toward the end of the process. I'm encouraging you to pick something close by because you're likely to have to make several visits for observations. And oftentimes, something as common as the quad on campus, we could make observations at different times of day, and that thing is different at all those different times of day. So, conduct interviews, record bits of audio, and profile based largely on your observations, interviews, gathering artifacts. Present your information in a way that both informs and entertains your audience. Profile is more than just an objective description of something, and that's one of the things that we're learning through this assignment is that observation is subjective. So we're each, we could all write a profile about the same thing. We come up with different profiles. So requires your unique perspective on and interpretation of your observations. And primary purpose, inform readers, is an informative essay. Secondary purpose, keep your reader entertained. And audience, consider your audience to be a newcomer to the area, someone who will be unfamiliar with the area. Such a newcomer could be a student who's visiting campus and thinking about beginning college next fall, or a family who's relocating to the area, etc. And your audience could be somewhat broad. Your tone toward your audience should be neither too familiar nor too formal. Organize your profile around a controlling theme or angle, your dominant impression. And if you're too familiar with something, sometimes it's hard to get a fresh view on things. So maybe choose something you're not exactly familiar with, and then you'll learn in the process about something, and that'll be revealing, educational, informative for both you and your audience. So, so I give you a list of some possible topics, some off-limit topics, a family member. These tend to remembering people essays instead of profiles. Obviously, anything that could put you in danger, anything that involves you engaging in illegal activities. So, don't want you riding around with the police on the night beat. Could be kind of dangerous. So, let's keep it not too risky. Okay. Typical problems, and I'll let you read those. I'll talk more about those later. The length, think about it as a 4 to 6 page essay. And I think that's the assignment sheet. Let me give you a quick peek at Audacity, and I'll talk more about it here in a bit in a few further lecture. Okay, so this is the program Audacity, and not going to get too far into it for now, but we have this big gray area, which is basically the canvas where we put the different audio files, and then we can move them around to the left or to the right, kind of time shift them to match up with other audio tracks and decide what's going to come first, second, third, etc. And we also have some tools for accomplishing some of those things up here. So we have typical pull-down menus at the top. You should be able to interpret these. This is pause, play, stop, back to start, to the end of the track, and the record button. We also have these 6 tools here. We're going to be using 2 or 3 of them. The first one is the selection tool, very easy to use, just allows you to select a portion of audio and either delete it or add a special effect to it. The next one's called the pinching or enveloping tool, and allows us to kind of close down or make quieter a particular audio track, such as when you have some intro music and then you start talking and you want the intro music kind of fade out in the background. So the other two tools I haven't used too much, the draw tool and the zoom tool. But the time shift tool will become important to us in terms of lining up audio tracks to the left or to the right. And then we have a multi-tool, and I really haven't used that. So let me give you a quick view of it. Part of what I'm doing is going to involve me speaking into the microphone, but then when I do the playback, we have audio coming out of the speakers and trying to pick them up again by the microphone. So this may not be a very successful experiment. I just want to give you a quick preview of what Audacity is about, and then I'm going to encourage you to download it. You can install it on a flash drive if you want, carry it around with you, but it is on the labs in campus, and start familiarizing yourself with it. Record bits of audio or record something on your phone and then send it to yourself and open it up in Audacity. So become familiar with these programs as best you can. So let me do a quick little recording. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Okay, so you see the audio that's been created. This is called a wave form, and so obviously where we see the activity, that's there's sound going on there, and what's before kind of the flat line, that's silence or relative silence. And after a while, we can kind of get used to editing these waveforms as text. Sometimes when I'm making one of these video lectures and I make a mistake, sometimes I just push right through, but other times I'll actually stop and wait about 10 seconds and then start again. And so when I go back and I look at the waveform, I know that there's a problem there. And so then it takes me directly to where I need to do a little editing, and then I clean that up and edit out the bits of silence and bring the audio tracks back together, and then I'm off. So having the waveform can be handy. We can actually read it, excuse me, as a kind of text. So let me see if I can play this back and it'll be loud enough to be heard on this recording. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Okay, so I think that's workable. Let me do another recording. We can also mute and solo different audio tracks. So I'm going to mute this audio track and I'm going to record again. Not what I wanted to do. Wanted to go back to the start. See if I can do this again. I think I need to add a new audio track. So add new stereo track. Okay. And record again. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Okay, so now I've got two different recordings, and if I were to play both of them back right now, they would play at the same time and be on top of each other. And here's where the time shift tool comes in handy. So we can grab that time shift tool and go down here and grab this audio track and slide it to the right. And so now if I played them back, I would hear this audio track and then this audio track. So also the selection tool, the very basic tool that we use, we can use it to like select part of an audio track, and I'm just going to hit the delete key, and so that cut off that part of the audio track. We can also select part of an audio track and some of the effects. Let's see, effect, fade in, fade out. So maybe I'm going to fade out on this And you can see how it kind of pinches it down. So we can also do that manually from time to time if we need to. So the selection tool, the pinching tool, we didn't use it, but we used an effect that kind of pinched. We used the time shift tool, and that was pretty basic. So please read over this assignment sheet again and familiarize yourself with it. Start thinking about possible topics for this assignment, and I will set up the topic workshop. I'll put you guys into new peer response groups, and we'll be off and running on this assignment. Thank you for your time and attention, and I'll be talking to you soon. Thanks.